Hi, Giannis from Jagged Verge here, making another video in the Heuristics cleanup series. And in this video I want to really focus on the separation of concerns. The concept of separation of concerns is that code should be arranged such that it addresses one concern at a time. A concern is kind of like a group of related functionality. So input and output would be a concern, business logic would be a concern, various different groups of related things end up being concerns. And the general design principle is that you want to keep the code dealing with only one such group at a time. So for example, code that handles input-output should be separated from the code that deals with algorithms or business logic. Or code that profiles the running time should be separate from the thing being profiled, and so on and so forth. Because when you keep things separate, there's a lot of benefits. One of the really big benefits is it's easier to reason about. If you're just dealing with one type of concern, if it's input-output, you know that when you're looking at that code, all it's doing is input and output. It makes it easier to reason about. If you know that the code in a particular section is only dealing with an algorithm, that a function just does an algorithm, doesn't do any input-output, doesn't do any profiling, doesn't do any opening of files, it makes it easier to reason about, and that makes it easier to reuse code, because you know that when you have a function that's, say, an algorithm, you know that it's just doing an algorithm. You get a little bit less paranoid about things that you call doing unexpected things behind your back when you separate out like this, and it just ends up being a nicer design in general. So the focus of this episode is using these concepts to improve the code in the library, and just like the other videos, I'll make a pull request so you can follow along, and you can just have a look at the link that's at the bottom of the screen now. That's where all of the code for this episode is going to go. Alright, let's get stuck into it. Alright, since the last video, Billy's made a few commits, and that means that we're going to need to get our fork to be synced up with upstream and to pull those changes in. So if we have a little look at remotes, at the moment we have only got our repository, and we will need to add an upstream, so we do git remote add upstream, and then we need to get the original repository link, which is in here. So now we've got those in there, which is what we want, and the next step is going to be to sync up all the changes. So we want to fetch the upstream changes now. And this will get the changes that he's just made, and now we will need to merge the upstream master, and if all goes well, this will fast forward because we haven't made any commits, and that's fast forwarded. Brilliant. So now if we look at git log, we can see that his more recent commits since the last video have been made. Good. It seems like he's improved some things. Now that we're up to date, we can keep moving along. Alright, so this variable depth search function is a really good example of something that we can clean up with regards to separation of concerns. So at the moment, what this function does is it computes an algorithm that finds a solution from a heuristic, but it also does a few other things that probably shouldn't be in here. So for example, when you call this function, it starts a timer, and then later on that timer is ended. And so when you call that function, every time you call it, what it's doing is it's taking a timer, and then it passes that time out to a print function, which is this print output below here. Now, this isn't the best separation of concerns, because every time you call this function var depth search, you wanting to print or not wanting to print? Well, you don't really get a choice. Anytime you call this, maybe you just wanted to find out how the best organization of the machines were by running this function, and you didn't want to get a print output, but you're forced to get a print output every time you use this function. So what we'll do is we'll go about separating out those input-output and timing concerns out of this function, and that'll make this function easier to test, and it'll make it easier to use in the context of a larger project. Probably the easiest thing to do is to extract the time out first. That means we want to get the timing to be outside of the function call here. So in this case we get rid of the start time first, and we put that there, and then we have to get rid of the duration time here. Place that here. Then we will need to remove the duration outside the print output, which currently the print output takes duration. What does it do with duration? Solution found. So this is going to disappear from here now. We get rid of the duration, and we will no longer pass the duration as a parameter. So that's gone from there, and that should be that first step. So what we've done now is we've removed this profiling from the inside of the function, and we've put it outside. And I'm going to use the forwards compatible print here just to make it easier to go to Python 3. So we'll chuck that in as well. So it has to go up at the top. So and that's that. Alright, so I've made that change, and I'll run the tests. And it looks like nothing broke. But there is no test case for that particular function. That is a concern. If we have a look at the tests, we'll see that test is test machine, and test machine doesn't test that, and I think test schedule, if I remember correctly, it doesn't test it either. Yeah, so that also does not test that function. So that's something that I definitely am going to make a note of, and I think I might as well just directly open an issue here. So we'll make a new issue, create. So I believe this is, and submit new issue, and yeah, I think that's probably all I can do for now. And because it's a little bit of a tricky refactor, I'll pull that out onto a branch now, and I'll keep working on the branch. Okay, we have our new branch, and let's get started here. So the next thing that I wanted to tackle was this printing of output. If that is the relevant information that's coming out from this variable depth search, we should be returning that, because we don't want the print to be going on in the same function as the algorithm, because if we have the algorithm printing as well, it makes the algorithm, every time we want to run the algorithm, it'll print. But we might not always want to print when we run the algorithm. And that can strange the reuse of the function. So we'll change this around. Instead of returning first data schedule, we might instead wish to return slightly different data here. Is that the only return? It looks like it is, so that makes it fairly easy. In this case, what we'll do is we'll do return, and we might return a dictionary here. It's not necessarily ideal, but it gives us some ability to return what we want. So that's what we had before, and that's what we've got in our result. And this is definitely not ideal, but it's like a way you can kind of make progress. We have this return first data schedule. Yeah, so now we're returning dictionary, and we can get rid of the old return value, and instead what we'll do is we won't rely on the side effects here with var depth search. We will actually have result here, and then from that result we will construct the print output. So instead of it being what it was before, which is this, we will get the print output now here, and instead we have result number of machines, result number of tasks, result depth, and so schedule wasn't in that result that we returned, so we need that in there as well, because that again was being used. So schedule is here. Let's see, where was schedule? First data.schedule. So it was returning something but printing something different. That's slightly disturbing. So I don't know if that's a bug or if that's a desired feature. Again, this is pretty impossible for me to actually tell without tests. So I'll need to get clarification from the author of the library before I merge, because it's actually a little hard for me to tell one way or another. And this is exactly why the separation of concerns is important. It's really hard to make any progress when you've got this situation. So instead of result, I mean, I'm going to just put this as schedule, and then I'm going to put the schedule directly in there. Yeah. So that's probably the best I can do at this point in time, but it has improved this now in the sense that it no longer is taking the duration or printing as well. So I'll save that, and then I'll make a commit. So that's the difference. So instead of printing this output and so it does print the, so I'll add that in. The remove print from function. Probably all I can do there. So I'm going to push these changes up now. I'll push master, and then I'll push the branch. So that was our fast forward from earlier, and now I'll just push up refactor. Alright, and next step is to make the pull request. Okay, we'll make our new pull request here. So I want to compare cross forks, and the head fork is going to be in here. That one. So make sure that this, yeah, those are the results we want. And I do want to leave a comment. Need calculation of yeah, so that's, I want to make that note on the pull request just to make sure that there's nothing that goes wrong. And now that we have Travis set up, it's great because we'll get some checks that run, which is exactly what we want. And yeah, I will go back to making a few more changes, and we'll come back, have a look at this in a minute. Alright, there's still a few more things to clear up in here, so let's have a little look back in here again. So one of the things I notice in the print output is we've got this number of machines, number of tasks, and depth. And number of machines, depth, and number of tasks, I think are actually unchanged throughout. So let's see. So depth, let's see how many times depth gets referenced. So depth is there, 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 there. Yeah, depth is never changed. So we can, instead of passing this through, we can actually just change this straight up here. So we do args.depth, and we can just print that directly, and then we can remove that part of the return, and that makes things slightly simpler. So that, I think, is worth a commit right there. So we'll make a commit for that. So do git diff, and we'll do git add variable. We might as well look at the others as well. So we had, what else did we have down here? We had so number of machines and number of tasks. So number of machines, let's see where these come up. Number of machines is in snake heuristic, so that never changes either. So we can again get rid of this one, and let's see if tasks is the same. I'm going to Oh, so tasks. Tasks is, well, the number of the tasks is going to be either this number of tasks. This is a bit clumsy. I might leave that in there. So again, it's a little less clear. The author of the library can fix that up after they've seen the video. I'm sure he knows what he wants there. So we got rid of number of machines, so that's gone, and that just leaves the schedule and the number of tasks. Alright, so make another commit. Thinking about it more, I actually think that tasks can be dealt with, and that gives it a simple return value again. So the number of tasks has to be the same length as the tasks. So we can deal with this down here. We can say if args, oh wow, it's not actually called with the particular tasks here. That's interesting. So in the way that this is called at the moment, it has to actually be the args number of tasks. But that's kind of bad, and that indicates a bug as well, because there isn't really handling for different tasks to be passed in here. Anyway, that's not particularly our concern, so we'll do number of tasks here, and then actually that's kind of bad, so we should say number of tasks equals to this, because this could end up being something else later. Like if the number of tasks is created from the tasks and tasks is passed in, we would want to be able to change the number of tasks variable up there. Let's change that so it's number of tasks, and then tasks. Yeah, this is probably the best way. So tasks could be put in at some later date that way. And we now have an interesting situation that we can get rid of the complicated return value as well. So instead of having result with the schedule, we can just return directly. Like so. So if we have a look at the diff, we'll see what's changed. So we got rid of the dictionary that we had as an intermediary refactoring step, and we're just returning directly. And this way we are building the number of tasks up from the arguments that have been passed in, and we've completely taken the print output out now. Alright, so let's push all that up. Alright. Without having a test for it, all we can really do is run the variable depth search through Python. Let's see what is happening in there. Line 79. Oh, it's probably because I've done the from future import. Anyway, this is something I want to fix in any case. so let's fix this up. What we can do is we can use the multi-line string literals to set up a template of sorts. So these don't need to be on the same lines, so we can just get rid of that, and then we can make the format happen all at once. So we can do number of machines, number of tasks. So we can use the format with keyword arguments like so, and then we can do something like this. Get rid of this here, and then again we'll do another string format here. Okay, that should be that, and we'll just make sure that we can run that. Attempted relative import in non-packaged. Yeah, this is annoying. So yeah, that's something that we'll have to fix as well. And this is definitely something that no. I get for typing too quickly. Number of tasks. Ah, there it is. All right. There we go. Beautiful. Okay, we've got a full run through and we've basically sorted out some of that stuff. I think this is a really good point to wrap it all up, and we'll make our last commit. Okay, so this should be ready to merge, provided it passes the tests, which it does. So let's just say ready to merge. Thanks for watching. If you've got any questions, please do leave a comment, and I'll do my best to answer anything that comes up. And if you'd like to subscribe to our channel, please do. And if you'd like to see your own code improved in one of these videos, have a look at the link below, and hopefully we'll be in touch. Alright, until next time, see you later.